So, mental health, it's very high on everybody's agenda at the moment. And I thought we'd take a little bit of time out to talk about mental health issues with youth and teens. And is it on the rise? That's coming right up. Okay, so this week I'm very pleased to have Ali Kelly join me again, who's the CEO of Mind Blank. Welcome, Ali. Great to have you back with us. So, we're talking about child and youth mental health issues, and people think it's on the rise. Is it? And what's the cause of that, do you think?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Statistics show that suicide in particular is the number one leading cause of death for young people aged 14 plus. So we
Wow.
haven't seen some of these statistics previously. What we have is those in the country are up to 60% more at risk and those than their peers in the cities. And we have some Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities in Australia where that risk is 5 to 8 times higher
Wow.
than their non-Indigenous peers. So we're certainly seeing an increase, and we are even seeing as young as 10-year-old children that are taking their
Oh.
lives. So it's pretty extreme.
So why do you think this is? What's changed from 10, 20, 30 years ago?
Look, there's so many different variables. The topic of suicide prevention, each individual will have their own stories. Some broad issues that we're seeing in the mental health space, particularly with COVID-19, you're seeing the increase of anxiety. You've got resilience skills that young people are struggling to cope. We have increase in mood disorders like depression. And we're also seeing a lot more online technology. So there's a lot of online use, which has increased online exposure, being cyberbullying components.
Mm.
And also there's some consent culture issues that are popping up from too much exposure online during the lockdown.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So what are some of the signs that we should be looking for in our own kids or kids that we're working with?
Yeah, look, when it comes to mental health issues from those in the community, what you want to notice first and foremost is there a shift in their behaviour? So you know your children and young people the most. What's their personality like? Has there been any big shifts that you can point out to indicate that something might be going wrong? So extreme moods are an example. So it could be extreme anxiety that you're starting to see, perhaps a withdrawal of a low mood like a
Mm.
depression. Could be that the young person could be struggling with prolonged anger issues. Some other signs to look out for is the changes of behaviour, such as is there, for example, in their schooling, is there a drop of their grades at
Mm.
school? Have you seen a withdrawal from the child or young person not catching up with their peers as often as they used to? What are some activities that they used to really enjoy? Are they still engaged in those activities? More specifically with suicide prevention, some specific signs that are pretty obvious ones when it comes to this person may actually require more attention is suicide ideation. So are they
Oh,
actually talking about it? Sometimes young people could actually drop it in a sentence, and that's actually a big red flag to say, let's take this conversation
wow.
further. What else could we do to support you? And I know that's taboo because sometimes people are not very comfortable with having that discussion, but the research certainly does show that it is one of the signs we need to look out for. If you are having that conversation, has that young person shared a plan with you? That's a very big indicator as to they could be struggling.
Wow.
So yeah, all sorts of reasons to look out for, but has the child or teenager, how's their self-esteem been affected throughout big
Mm.
life changes?
Wow, that's some pretty heavy stuff there. You work
Yeah.
with these kids sort of day in, day out. How do you cope?
Yeah, look, it's a lot. I had a mother reach out to me recently
Mm.
who's had one of their sons during the lockdown period had been withdrawing, and just she noticed that his sleeping pattern was
Mm.
quite a lot. So they're withdrawn, they're in their room all the time. She doesn't quite know how to have that conversation with them. And look, some general tips. Sometimes parent relationships with their children we can't help but being the authoritarian,
Mm.
giving them lectures and rules about, be stern, tough love. And sometimes young people, they need to go talk to someone who they trust. So who else in that network? Is there an auntie or an uncle that has a good rapport with that teenager that could possibly have that conversation in that difficult time? And if you are seeing these patterns and it is affecting you as an individual, you too may actually need to reach out for further assistance and support.
It's interesting. I mean, we're talking about children and young people, and I'm just thinking as you're speaking there. I mean, this would probably apply to older people as well. In the maybe early 20s who are at university and with lockdowns and things like that, studying at home. Are you seeing similar issues there and similar kind of signs?
Yeah, it's interesting. The statistics when it comes to suicide in community in Australia, age 14 plus, 14 to 40 is what we're actually seeing.
Oh.
So there has been an increase for young people within their 20s to 30s, which is really interesting that we're seeing that happen. And part of the explanation for that could actually be, university may not be the only key. And as some of these students have finished studying, they could be finding it hard to put their foot in the door in this career progression. And because of job uncertainty, and we're certainly seeing different times for young people in their 20s to 30s, house investments, can they afford the same opportunities as everyone else? So they're certainly feeling it tough, which can impact their mental health. And definitely some of these steps that I've talked to you about, early intervention, spot the signs, share that you're concerned, reach out and seek help to a mental health professional. It's the same as to whether you saw that as a child, as a young person, or even if it's to young adults within your community.
So you've kind of got to my next question there, which is, if we see the signs, what do we do about it? Are there any other things there any other tips that you could share? So maybe ask if they want help, reach out to health professionals.
I guess my tip, the very, very first step is if you're worried, share that you're concerned. Actually intervene by advocating that the GP is a great place to start.
Okay.
If you go to your GP, they can help support that conversation. And the Australian healthcare system, there is the mental health plan. So there's different services depending on age cohorts. It is really interesting to see the children cohort, 8 to 10-year-old, there's actually an increase of mental health concerns with those primary school age children. And when it comes to services that are available, Headspace seems to be the go-to option for younger people, but that starts at age 12. So your local GP will actually tell you what services are available for the individuals that are there, but there just may be different services available, and there certainly is a bit of a gap with the 8 to 12-year-old children there.
Yeah, okay. We might put some links to resources down below, and of course Ali and I are based in Australia, so if you're watching this and you know of other resources in your own country, maybe you could add those down in the comments as well. Again, just while you're sort of talking through there and coming back maybe to the sort of young adults rather than children, I guess there could be additional issues there where maybe families are separated due to lockdowns and things, and they might be feeling very remote. I mean, I'm trying to think of a scenario here. Maybe, as a young person is away at college or something and feeling very isolated. Are you seeing those sorts of issues as well, where maybe, family groups are a bit split up?
Yeah, look, Mindblank as an organisation, we work alongside the health district. So I am actually seeing some concerns that are popping up in terms of there are individuals that are seeking help and they are ending up getting that mental health support. But we are seeing some services really, really maxed out. And a age cohort group that could be at risk within that young people demographic, young adults, is some of the international students during this time. Because we have border closures, there's some that are still studying here that have been cut off their regular visits to home, and they may not be able to tap into the same services that Australian residents have here. There are fantastic services to help support COLD, multicultural, cultural, linguistic and diverse students. However, during this COVID time, it's just something to consider. And of course, there's the other end of that, the international students that we would usually see come through to Australia that have been cut off from coming and pursuing their studies during this time. So it's certainly, COVID has increased quite a bit of anxiety and uncertainty within the students during this time.
That's an interesting aspect, overseas students, being here in this country. I mean, maybe some are watching this video if they're, feeling very isolated and recognize, within themselves that things are not right. What would you say to them? What would be a good action?
Look, Mindblank's always been an advocate to remind people that they're not alone. And with our help-seeking messages, it's not just take that step and seek help. It's that reminder that there are actually so many services that could be out there that could help. It's not just the one pathway. What we tend to find is it's a huge step to be brave enough to have the courage to actually admit, I need help. And sometimes if we seek help to the first person, they may not be that helpful, and it's a reminder that we're all individuals and we're all skilled with different skills. So that person may not know how to help you. So it's that reminder of resilience, that there is always hope, that there is always help out there, but you do have to keep trying.
Okay, now that's a fantastic overview of the issues, Ali. I really appreciate that. Maybe we can put some resource links down below, and anybody watching this, maybe feel free to put some links in as well. Love to hear your feedback in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us. And your organisation Mindblank is very much focused on this. Maybe we can put a link to Mindblank down below as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Would love to.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rob.